Hey everybody, Josh Sigurdson, a World Alternative Media here, and of course we're joined by Tim Picciott of the Liberty Advisor. And it's interesting because Evercore ISI said about a year and a half ago or so that the retail apocalypse is over and it's time to go long on Macy's, but that didn't turn out according to plan, because as we see in this CNBC article here, Macy's to close 125 stores, cut 2,000 corporate jobs in hunt for growth. And this is part of a greater issue that we're going to get into shortly here in this video. But the retail apocalypse has been just creating havoc everywhere you look for the last several years, and every time it seems like it can't go on any longer, it just keeps going on. But let's go into this article here. It says, stuck in a sales slump, Macy's is shrinking to grow. The department store chain announced Tuesday its plans to shut 125 stores over the next 3 years and slash about 2,000 corporate jobs as it closes its Cincinnati headquarters and tech offices in San Francisco. Macy's said it plans to exit weaker shopping malls and instead shift its focus towards opening smaller format stores in strip centers. Macy's has shuttered more than 100 stores since 2015. Still, looking ahead 3 years from now, even with these changes, growth at Macy's looks abysmal. With a smaller base of stores, Macy's said net sales in fiscal 2022 are expected to be within a range of $23.2 billion to $23.9 billion, while earnings per share on an adjusted basis will be between $2.50 and $3. Same store sales on an owned plus licensed basis are forecasted to be down 1% to flat. And I quote, "We are taking the organization through significant structural changes to lower costs, bring teams closer together, and reduce duplicative work," CEO Jeff Gennett said in a statement. "The changes we are making are deep and impact every area of the business, but they are necessary. I know we will come out of this transition stronger, more agile, and a better fit to compete in today's retail environment." Macy's shares were recently down less than 1% after initially jumping more than 3% on the news. Before I get into the next article there, I have to note this sounds a lot like the restructuring we see among a lot of banks, as a matter of fact, trying to scrounge up whatever they have left and try to kind of go in the opposite direction of whichever way they were going in the first place, like Deutsche Bank. I want to note that this is one part of a much larger issue, as this Market Watch article says. Another sign of the retail apocalypse as e-commerce ETF overtakes one that tracks bricks and mortar, and says investors still love the traditional retail fund as a tool for shorting bricks and mortar companies. Obviously, a lot of people are going into apps and buying things online, but that's just a part of the issue. As this article from USA Today says, store closings pile up with 1,200 closures already announced. Retailers face another grim year. And following up that article, obviously there's this Fortune article that I have up here that says stationary retailer Papyrus is closing all stores. This is just just a few examples of a much larger issue here. Tim, I wanted you to go into the latest news on Macy's and this retail apocalypse, because obviously this isn't the first we've heard about it. We've seen lots of store closures over the last several years. What do you think?
Well, thanks, Josh. So I'm just pulling up the chart right now that you had referenced in the Market Watch article, and I look at the 3-year chart right now, and it looks like basically it's almost exactly flat. So I am a financial advisor, so I'm going to make all the so right now we are looking at the SPDR S&P Retail ETF, just because it was mentioned in the article. I'm not making any buy, sell, short recommendations in case the SEC is listening. But 3 years ago, it was exactly $44.04, and today it's $43.83. So, we're told it's the greatest economy ever, and so people can say, oh, it's just Macy's, it's just one-off, but this is the entire index of retail is down, basically flat over 3 years. And let me just pull up, and we're doing this in live time right now. And basically, I'm just kind of glancing at this. I mean, it was at 50 in 2015. And so, here we are, it's basically 5 years later, and the ETF is still down. And so you can't blame it all on, I know Macy's. I mean, personally, I don't know really anybody that shops at Macy's. And maybe my my grandma, they shop at
Hey,
Macy's.
watch it. I got a couch at Macy's once.
Okay. And I think I had a friend who got married and we bought suits at Macy's. But, aside from there, I mean, I really have no, I have no need to go into a mall anywhere. But, because I can go shop at the Wham store for my and the Fed shirts now. But,
right. Or this shirt that I'm wearing right now, the revolution will not be YouTube. Anyway, get it today.
Yeah. Anyway, shameless plugs on that one. But, when it comes to, all, what's going on, I mean, you see, most of the stock market gains are really just going to the big tech companies. Recently, I saw somewhere along the lines of the big 5 tech companies were responsible for about 18% of the S&P 500's gains, which is just, incredible. Today we'll get into this a little bit later on. We have Tesla is mooning. And it's funny because actually in this MarketWatch article, there's an advertisement. And at the bottom of the advertisement, it says making the case for $7,000 Tesla stock. And originally I thought it was 700. I'm like, oh, well, it already blew through that. So, that's old news on that one. But anyways, we'll get into that in a little bit. But, the other thing we have to remember of what's going on right now with the stock market is that you had China who, it's not like Trump, like China put, what was it? Something like over $174 billion that they stimulated to their economy for one day. Not sure with how much they put in today, but I'm sure it was a lot. And to put that into context, I mean, that is basically the market cap of what Bitcoin is. I mean, I don't know exactly what it is off the top of my head, but it's probably pretty darn close to that. I'm going to look that up right now, and 166 billion, 0.8. Yeah. So basically it's right in line with the market cap of Bitcoin of what China just printed off in one day.
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy. Well, Tim, I mean, while we are seeing a lot of highs and a lot of dips, and we're seeing the usual fluctuation, it's rather unusual, but nonetheless, we've been seeing it for the last couple of years in the stock market. This retail apocalypse seems to be an issue of multiple reasons. Like I see a lot of people going to Amazon. I see a lot of people utilizing Postmates and Grubhub and all these Uber Eats and stuff like that. People are really making the best use of the internet today, and there is a lot of automation, but there also seems to be a lot of concern regarding the actual value of the stock market. There seems to be a lot coming to fruition with that. I wanted to ask, do you see this being an issue with the stock market or with automation?
Well, I mean, I think it's a little bit of both. Then also, throw in there, financialization. You also throw in the debt market too, because you have to always, when you think of what's overvalued, you have to always think of it compared to what. And so if you're valuing something in the dollar and the dollar is losing value, then other things increasing in value relative to what you're basing it against, that makes a gigantic difference. But, when the other day I think I saw, some talking heads say something along the lines of, Amazon's created 30,000 new jobs. And then I hear them also in the same breath mention Walmart closed. I think it was lost 130,000 jobs. So people are thinking, okay, well, it's good that they're shutting down these Walmarts because now, Amazon's creating so many new jobs, but it's not making up for it. And, we can get into, how the different economic numbers are rigged and all that other stuff, which I'll be speaking about at in Acapulco at the TDV Summit. John's going to be speaking on the crypto stage. I know you're going to be speaking on the main stage. So people want to do promo code WHAM, another shameless plug for that. But it's a little bit of automation is some of it because, obviously Amazon is a lot more lean, a lot more efficient than Walmart. And even though Walmart, they basically pioneers the just-in-time delivery or one of the people that helped pioneer that. But now when you compare everything to, you got all this cheap money floating around, you've got over $1 trillion of negative corporate interest rate bonds. You've got, I think it was last time I checked, like $11 trillion of just negative rate bonds in general. And so when you're comparing, what is overvalued, and you've got, assets where if you keep them on the book. I mean, I was reading an article the other day where it actually showed that a lot of the banks in Europe were actually running out of storage space for their cash because people wanted to hold on to banks want to hold on to physical cash.
Yeah, Germany is dealing with that big time right now, and that obviously relates to the issue that we're seeing with the fall of Deutsche Bank.
Yeah, and exactly with Deutsche Bank. I mean, there's no way they're going to cut themselves to prosperity. There's not enough, for them to cut. It just depends on how long Germany's willing to let them bleed. it's sort of like, Mike Bloomberg, how much money is he willing to lose before he, finally, it's going to be $1 billion, $2 billion. What's he going to be at stake for in this? But yeah, we're seeing a lot of crazy stuff going on in the stock market. I did point out earlier that China is injecting, was it 174 billion just yesterday? Today, I'm sure it was probably another massive number. I've been working on other things, so I wasn't looking exactly what the number was. But, things are being gamed. The Fed still has their repo operations going on. And so this is not a free market. This is not. And so, Donald Trump's going to get up tonight and talk about how we're the freest country and how, everything is great and amazing, and how it's never going to be socialism.
It's the kind of manipulation you'd expect from a very far left country. I want to talk a little bit about, a lot of people are talking about how, while we're seeing these problems, these tremors in the stock market, when we're seeing these tremors in the retail industry, a lot of people seem to be moving towards gold, silver, rhodium skyrocketing right now like we haven't seen since 2008, leading up to 2008. We haven't seen anything like it since then, when it went around 10K, and then it went down after the recession, the so-called end of the recession. And in the last few months, it has been skyrocketing back towards 10K, and it seems like history is at least rhyming there. It seems as though there are a lot of people that are, even though they'll vocally be bullish on the stock market, they seem to be backing themselves up, where it's obvious that a lot of major insiders and industry bigwigs are getting into gold, silver, rhodium, and of course cryptocurrency. I wanted to hear your thoughts on the movement towards that. Do you think that there is a concerted movement towards these kind of things as safe havens, as a lot of people are concerned that the stock market cannot last too long in the legs that it's standing on?
Yeah, and so I'll tell you, when it comes to a lot of the pros, I mean, they're doing different strategies, probably like we're incorporating right now, where I believe the stock market is super overvalued. I thought it's been overvalued probably since 2015, but I didn't want to fight the Federal Reserve. That's never a really good idea. I mean, I fight them ideologically and exposing what they're doing to people and helping wake people up from that aspect. But, I also want to be able to make money for myself and for my clients, but I also want to be able to look them in the eyes when, another 2008 inevitably happens again. And so what I'm doing right now, what I'm advocating that my clients do, is that we have strategies where we have protection on the downside via put options. If you don't know what those are, essentially, sort of works, inverse of the stock market. So if the stock market is going down, then the value of these are going up. And so essentially we're in a situation where, because we're also long the other underlying asset, if the goes up like it did last year, 30%, on the S&P, roughly, then, we're going to benefit handsomely. And if it, the market absolutely, comes back to reality and crashes, then we're only going to be down a tiny bit. But, that tiny bit is still way up from where they were, last year, and way, way up from where they were a few years before that. And so it's, that's one way to do it. But, if you don't know anything about options, don't go doing that yourself, because you can absolutely get completely wrecked. And that is something that, you should definitely be well versed in before you go ahead and do that on your own. A little disclaimer there. And actually, I want to give a quick shout out to my friend Dr. Frank, because he was telling me about rhodium and palladium and a few of these other ones a few years ago, and I wish I listened to him, because he was giving me all the list of reasons and everything that was going on with them. So maybe we can try to get him on as a guest, because he is super well versed in all these different metals.
Well, Tim, I do want to bring the chart up on the screen just to give people some context again. Just showing around 2000 to 2002 the move towards rhodium, then the move towards rhodium between 2006 into 2009, which was massive, and now what we're seeing today. The market hasn't crashed, technically speaking, yet, but it seems the metals market seem to be reacting in a way as though they are, and I find that really interesting. And we could get into all the metals and cryptos all day. I do want to get into an issue that you alluded to earlier on in the video, which is huge news right now, which is Tesla. Tesla is booming. I mean, we're talking at one point almost 40% up in 2 days, and it's just like booming more than Bitcoin. I mean, it's just, we're where's Peter Schiff now? It's just interesting because I'm seeing articles all over from the mainstream media, which seems to be rather anti-Tesla, about how Tesla shares fell $100 in like 10 minutes, and it lost the market cap of Fiat Chrysler in like 10 minutes. But they're not talking about the fact that it was still up like 13.7% after that fact when that happened. I mean, it's so crazy. What is going on with Tesla? Is there a massive momentum towards just electric cars? Is this like half fundamentals and then half just crazy speculation? Well, what do you think about the latest news regarding Tesla and its big boom?
Well, I'll be the first to admit that I did not see this boom in Tesla coming. I had a client who actually I congratulated him today before it was even majorly up today, because he went all in on this, and he actually went all in at like a really bad time. It was, well, in hindsight, it's a good time, but it was right before Elon tweeted funding secured, which that tweet I think cost him, probably about $20 million, $27 million or something like that from the SEC, because he was trying to BS his way to, manipulating his stock price. And then after that, I'm not looking at a chart right now, but I think it went down, in the 200s. And I was like, see, I told you so. And then now it's, I forgot exactly what it said, like eight something. So, there you go. I mean, that's one of the cases where I was definitely wrong on that one, at least for right now. But when it comes to Tesla, it's sort of like Amazon, where even though Tesla isn't making money, it's all about, the penetration that they get into the market. It's all about new cars that are going to be in production. There's a lot of hype now with them in China. I mean, they opened up these plants, got them going really quickly. They've got the gigafactories up and running. And, one of my, close friends is a absolute battery expert. I mean, he has the patent on the, like those lithium ion batteries that go and, jumpstart cars and things like that. And he is, a gigantic bull on Tesla because of what they're doing with their battery technology. And he actually describes it more as a battery company that happens to be in the car business. And so that's not my main area of expertise, but, I've got probably about 3 different friends who are close connections who are in the battery industry, and they all, are really admiring everything that Elon is doing. But then again, I've got friends who, don't believe anything and don't believe that he really shot the car up there and think everything is staged, and hate him with all of his guts. So, it's a wide bag, but when it comes to Tesla, it's all about the new cars. It's about being the hype man. He's sort of like the Steve Jobs, but they are absolutely bleeding cash. And so, I think at one point, they were months away from, I think at one point, earlier this summer, they're maybe 9 months away from running out of cash at the rate that they were going.
Well, yeah, at that point, Tim, Elon Musk was talking about how he was back to sleeping in his factories and working day in, day out. And honestly, a lot of people hate him. A lot of people attack him. A lot of people, and rightly so in many ways, grants he got from the government and all that kind of stuff. But with that said, I mean, I think it's really innovative. I think he's answering a problem with a solution, and a rather decent solution, to say the least. I mean, his electric cars, I mean, when people talk about electric cars like 6 or 7 years ago, they laughed about them. They're so terrible. They're inefficient. Now it's like he's releasing a Cybertruck with FU money and going, I don't care if you like it or not. This is what I like, and I'm going to release this Cybertruck. And everyone's like mad at him, and I'm like, this is kind of awesome. I kind of like this. And he's releasing all these cars that I see them everywhere. I'm in Nevada, and as you know, I'm sure in Arizona too. Like there's Teslas everywhere these days, and they zoom by. They seem to have great engines. They seem to be extremely efficient. They save people money. They charge extremely fast now. I mean, it's about time. I mean, people acted the same way about the horse and buggy when people came along with these weird cars shooting black smoke and bouncing up and down like crazy machines that are going to explode. And, the market decided, actually, these are more efficient. They're better. It's like milkmaids. All these people were like, you're putting milkmaids out of work by creating these factories that produce milk. And it's like, yeah, well, people are going to be able to buy it for cheaper now. It's going to be mass produced and all these billions of dollars and all that kind of stuff, and it'll create more employment. I think people miss the point that the market's always right. Even if you don't agree with the market's always right, assuming it's not manipulated.
The only thing that bothers me with Tesla or Elon Musk is that, he's out there parading around like he's saving the environment when, in order to get these lithium ion batteries, there's a huge amount of environmental degradation.
Right.
And there's not, necessarily secure ways to, dispose of these batteries, when they blow up, there's massive contaminants into the atmosphere. A lot of times the charging is being done through diesel stations. I think they even had when he was at the Nuremberg ring trying to take, I think it was a Porsche, one of the Porsches that he was trying to take on earlier this summer, and they actually were trying to cover up the diesel generator that was powering their electric plug-in charger.
Of course, the virtue signaling is obvious, and I honestly I don't really care about Tesla as far as the environmentalism goes at all. I just think that they're efficient vehicles and they save people money, and I think the market long term is going to go in the direction of that which saves them money, and also the self-driving car revolution, and it is a revolution. I find really interesting too, because at the end of the day, a machine, the computer, as bad as it sounds and as nefarious as certain things can be utilizing self-driving cars, it's more efficient than the human mind deciding whether to. It's that old saying: hit the baby crossing the road or hit the old lady crossing the road, and you have 1 second to react. The computers tend to make an unfortunate decision, but the better decision, or find a way to not hit either of them. So, I mean, I think that people talk about it could kill you, it could crash, and honestly, self-driving cars, statistically speaking, kill less people per capita than people driving cars. So, I mean, I don't know. I feel like a lot of the issues are, it's just there's a lot of people that are just angry with change. But
you better hope Deutsche Bank doesn't come back from the dead and somehow buy Tesla and then be like, that Josh and John and Tim over there were talking so much crap about Deutsche Bank. We're gonna the algo's always gonna divert to killing us if that was
yeah. But Tim, well, finally, before we go, I want to ask, do you think it's likely to see Tesla stocks crash quite a bit in the near future? Because I mean, this is a huge pump. It's not natural to see a pump like this very often. Usually what goes up must come down. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, there's actually a Zero Hedge article right now where this is actually from yesterday, so it doesn't even take today's 13% rise into account, but it charts it with the 2017 Bitcoin spike. It correlates pretty closely with that, and they're saying that if it correlates perfectly, then it would end around like 1,200. Again, I saw ads for 7,000. If you have big gains in Tesla right now and you got in super early, I mean, now might be a time to take a little bit off the table, or hedge yourself with maybe some put options, or maybe take some off the table, and there's different ways you can even do that with call options as well, but you'd want to talk to a professional because that does get tricky. And so I have no idea. I mean, when you're in a mania, you don't really want to chase a mania. You want to chase something when no one else wants it. And right now, that's not to say that in a mania, who knows, in 2017, Bitcoin was probably at a mania when it was at 6,000, but it still went to 20. Yeah. And now it's at 9 a few years later. And so who knows? It depends what time horizon you're talking about right now. It's something where, my clients who are in this, they put a ton of money in it, but they also had, other things on the side to fall back on, where if that went to zero, they would still had enough guaranteed income for the rest of their life that it didn't matter. And so,
right.
Don't go.
I mean, there's things I can't help but think of the main competitor to Tesla, Rivian, and how probably a lot of people are looking very closely at Rivian right now because they're about to release a truck. But I find it interesting that Tesla has a bigger market cap than I believe any other car company in the world, yet they sell a minimal amount of vehicles compared to most of these companies. And I think it's just people looking forward to the future. And
I'll say this, I don't know a single person that has a Tesla that hates it. I mean, every single person who I've ever heard of that owns a Tesla has been the biggest fan, the big raving about it. So yeah. I will say, I guess they've got that going for them. And I think now we're coming up to about 10 years of them being in existence. So we'll see how the battery life really does last. It's admirable that Elon Musk is doing a lot in terms of, not patenting everything he's doing. So I think that's pretty cool. But yeah, there's lots of competitions coming on board, whether it's Porsche, whether it's BMW. I mean, even Formula One now, there's a Formula E where a lot of the big manufacturers are focusing even more on Formula E than they are in Formula One.
Right.
You've got like the Ford F-150, talking about making that electric in a couple of years. And so we'll see where it's all going, but do your own research and all this stuff. I mean, my crystal ball said it was a bad buy at 400 and now it's at 800. So I was 100% wrong on that. I'm not always right. So this would be on one of the not so Tim predictions that I've made in the past. But for me, I think it's a speculative mania. But if there's enough people that are willing to finance him for a long enough time period and it takes off, who knows, it could go up to 7,000. But if it just takes a little slip of the economy for all these house of cards to come crashing down together, and it might be something that's out of Elon's control altogether.
Absolutely. And I'm going to have to brag for a couple seconds here and say, look back at one of my Tesla videos from, I think, 3 or 4 months ago, where I said I believe that the Tesla stock was about to skyrocket. I think that was based on a hunch, mostly because, there's all this news, all these people angry at Elon Musk that were attacking him in the media, and Elon Musk didn't seem to worry at all about it. He was just smiling.
Now he's making house music. Now he's making house music. So I'm wondering if he's trying to become like the new CEO of Goldman Sachs. Because I don't know if you guys read. I think he was like, DJ Saul was doing something at the Super Bowl or something like that. One of the after parties.
So weird. We live in a weird world. Anyway, I appreciate you joining us today, Tim. From the retail apocalypse to possibly bullish news to possibly a little bit of both. I think that at the end of the day, everyone has to be very careful and be responsible. And the same stuff we always say. If people want to become a client of Tim's, make sure to check the link below in the description as well as the comments, the bit.ly link. And there's a lot more coming up right away. We're going to try and be on top of it as much as possible. It is a crazy world out there, like I said, and we're trying to break down everything as it's happening. But again, I can only do so much. But make sure to check those links. Get your merchandise from the Teespring store. GoFundMe, Patreon, Subscribestar to save independent media as we're getting shadow banned and demonetized. And join us on flote.app, flote.app, the future of social media, replacing Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Tumblr, Reddit, and Patreon, all in one with encrypted messaging for privacy, monetization on videos, super chats in crypto on live streams, and no algorithm telling you what you can or cannot see. So make sure to check that link below. I'm at Josh Sigurdson as well as at Wham, and Tim's at The Liberty Advisor on Flote. So make sure to check us out on there. That's where we'll be when they take us down, inevitably here on YouTube. So anyway, I really appreciate you joining us today, Tim. And until next time, this is Josh Sigurdson and Tim Picciott signing out from World Alternative Media. Find the truth, be the change. Like what you see here at Wham, don't forget to check the links below. GoFundMe, Patreon. We cannot do it without you guys. Every donation is extremely, extremely appreciated as we're getting incredibly shadow banned. We've lost 80% of our audience since January of 2019 and counting. They are ripping us apart here on YouTube, and the only thing we could do in the meantime as we prepare for the next big step is to ask for help from the viewers that support our free information that we try to post on a daily basis. You can also find us on Subscribestar, where just $1 a month, that's all it takes, $1 a month is all it takes to truly make a huge difference. If everyone gave $1 a month, it would change everything for independent media, and we could win this information war, and we can defeat the mainstream medias eventually. And of course, on Subscribestar, we post subscriber-only content that you'll only see on Subscribestar. So make sure to pledge there, become a patron. That makes a huge difference, guys. And also, don't forget to check out our Bitcoin address below in the comments and description, as well as on the screen for you to scan, if you please. And also, don't forget to subscribe to us on the alternatives. We will likely be deleted by YouTube in the next 2 years. It's already happening on a vast scale. So make sure to find us on flote.app. That's flote.app. At Josh Sigurdson, as well as at Wham, W-A-M. Flote.app is replacing every social media, and I mean, it's just incredible the opportunities it provides for not just creators, but for the average person who wants to get away from these nannies telling them what they can or cannot see. They plan to replace Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Twitch, Tumblr, Reddit, and Patreon. You could subscribe to us on Flote and pledge with cryptocurrency. It's really innovative. We are also on BitChute at World Alternative Media, as well as so many others, Minds, PocketNet. You can find us at World Alternative Media on Instagram. There's many options. And finally, don't forget to join us at Anarchapulco 2020, the famous event, the best Liberty event known to mankind, other than perhaps Anarcho Vegas 2020. There are 2 major events coming up that we are extremely excited about, and you can use promo code WHAM, that's W-A-M, and save 10% on your tickets to these legendary conferences. There's so many amazing people speaking there. You won't want to miss it. So make sure to support in any way you can, even if it's just sharing our videos, pressing like, pressing to be notified. Anything helps, folks. You are the change you wish to see. Thanks for watching, everyone. And until next time, this is Josh Sigurdson signing out from World Alternative Media. Find the truth, be the change.
I'm sure you have already changed people's minds in your young age because you're involved, and I like that.